one of the most vibrant members of our community with us, joining us, our special guest, gracing us with her presence, Ms. Habiba Kahinde. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm fine. Thank you. Thanks. It's really nice to see you guys again.
So without much ado, I want to welcome Camilla Nontra.
Yay!
Oh my goodness. I should come to you every day when I need.
Correct. This is Sudan.
Wow.
Sudan. Believe it or not, Sudan has more pyramids than Egypt.
Interesting.
Begin to think in a Pan-African way, because they now see that their conditions are not just about that local space, but the condition is linked to all of the other.
Hello, everybody. Good morning from California. Welcome to the PanAfricana show. If you live where my co-host lives, good afternoon to you. If you live on the other side of the world, good evening to you. I want to start by thanking God for today. By Him we live, we move, and have our being. My name is Fred Nontra, and welcome again to the PanAfricana show. How you doing, Jesse?
I'm doing well, man. I am excited to be here yet again for another week, and I'm excited for the agenda of topics that we are going to be discussing today.
Yeah, so today we don't have a host, but you're welcome to chime in. There's some topics that have made us hot. I still say it, but then a few topics that is we think needs to be addressed. And the first of all, I want to go back to a week ago or 2 weeks ago to talk to our legal expert here. Well, if you didn't know, my co-host is a legal expert. He's an attorney and he practices in the state of North Carolina. So I wanted to talk about the sentencing of Derek Chauvin.
Yes.
Me being a layman, I was like, well, he was found guilty of all charges, so he should do the max and all that, and should be away for at least 25 years. But there's always a technicality with law, so let Jesse handle that. So First of all, what was your take on the whole sentencing?
So I'm torn about it, and I'm torn for a couple different reasons. First thing is, in America, we're not used to police having any degree of accountability. So from that lens, to get a conviction and to get an actual sentence behind that conviction is, in a sense, kind of revolutionary here, because most police officers get nothing, right? But at the same time, we want to make sure that the sentences are equitable, particularly when you're taking the violation of depriving another person of life, right? And it's not that there was any question about it. We all were present to see it on Instagram, on the nightly news, in several different angles as to exactly what he did, how he did. The interesting thing about his sentencing is, typically at a sentencing hearing, you're going to have the DA who lists out what they call aggravating factors. So when you're convicted of a crime, crimes all have a supported kind of sentencing structure based on statute, but that sentencing structure also gives you a range of what the crime could be sentenced by, and we call that a presumptive range. So that means that if you haven't done anything aggravating, or if you didn't do anything to kind of assist the person in the situation, then the presumptive range is going to be something typically in the middle. And the presumptive range for something like this is roughly about 12 to 15 years in prison, right? But the hard part about this case is that Derek Chauvin actually had 4 aggravating factors, right? 4 of them. And I don't know how much experience our audience has with seeing court, but if you've ever seen a brother in court with 1 aggravating factor, the book gets thrown. Gets thrown. So if the maximum sentence for this particular conviction was 40 years, if you have 1 aggravating factor, then if you're just a regular guy going to court, you probably going to see at least 30 of those years, right?
Yeah.
He had 4. This happened in front of kids, right? He had somebody that he obviously was suffocating for a long period of time. I think like 9 minutes worth.
Yeah.
And he showed no remorse whatsoever. His mom showed no remorse to the family. She was happy. She was like, you know, I will always follow you. You're my favorite child, blah, 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 blah. So there was really no mitigating factor presented for him, but for the fact that he did this in the line of duty. And the judge even remarked, hey, you use your badge to basically abuse another person. You abuse the public trust as a police officer, which is another factor, right?
Yeah.
But what I want people to understand is typically at the sentencing hearing, the judge is hearing both sides and then he's making a decision. In this sentencing hearing, what was inconsistent with how normal law works is the judge knows that this case is getting appealed. So what he did was he wrote up a legal memorandum before anybody said anything and knew exactly what he was going to do. So we really had no point in having a sentencing hearing. He wrote up an entire legal memorandum explaining what he was doing, what the factors were that he was considering, what factors he wasn't considering, and what the sentence was going to be and why. And he's doing that to cover himself, because when you get appealed, that next branch, which is typically in most states the Court of Appeals, is going to review the record and see if the judge acted appropriately and consistently with the rules of the law. So now that he has his legal memorandum, the Court of Appeals at least knows what his argument is. And judges have a wide array of discretion as to what they do, as long as they do it under some legal context. He can't just say, I saw the video, I'm disgusted, you get 40 years. It doesn't work like that. He has to say, based on the elements of the crime and based on the elements of the sentencing guidelines, this is what I did, this is why I did it. But it also makes it very difficult for Derek Chauvin now to appeal his sentence because it's legally supported, right? Yeah. And whatever else the judge can give. So he ended up giving him 22 and a half years. And for those of us who were looking at aggravating factors, we were thinking at least 25 or more, hopefully 40. But at the same time, I can't scoff at 22 and a half years, considering that most police officers get 0, right? Like get nothing. Yeah. And it's legally supported. We still have concerns because, I mean, there are other appeal issues that Chauvin might be able to raise. And I think he probably will try to pursue those. But at the same time, what this does is it provides an avenue for the family, at least, to have some peace of mind for the next 22 and a half years. I think there may have already been a civil settlement, but if there hasn't been a civil settlement, then this guarantees that they should get some money, like from the city. And I think that's what Chauvin was alluding to when he was saying, hopefully this gives you some comfort or whatever. It was a really ridiculous way to try to like seem like he's mitigating the fact that you took this family's like breadwinner, provider, or whatever, so you can fall back. But this is how it works. So he got 22 and a half years out of a possible 40-year sentence. A lot of people also have questions about kind of how does prison sentencing work. It differs depending on state, and because I'm not licensed in Minnesota, I don't know how they work. But in North Carolina, the problem is that in prison systems, the prisons are overcrowded, right? So we can't have people do the full 40-year sentence unless their crime is something that really warrants them being in for 40 years. Yeah. What they tend to do is they factor in kind of the same deal, a presumptive range based on behavior once inside. So if you demonstrate good behavior, if you get a job, if you keep your nose clean, you're not involved in stuff in jail, you end up doing anywhere from 45 to 60% of that time, right? And that's the people who get time carved down for good behavior. These are administrative calls from the criminal system or the prison system, right? So if you, let's say, are somebody who committed robbery, but nobody died, right? You committed robbery, that's a bad thing, go to prison. You get to prison, maybe your sentence is 20 years, right? But if you get a job, if you're an orderly or you're working in the kitchen and you don't bother anybody and you do your time, then that 20-year sentence can be rerouted to be a 12-year sentence, right? And you get out in 12 years, maybe you're on parole, and if you're in federal government, you in a halfway house, whatever the case may be. but you have another opportunity because of your good behavior in prison. Well, with Chauvin, we're all concerned because he's not really going to have the prison experience that any other murderer would have. He's a police officer and they get put in protective custody. So in protective custody, you're going to be with, right. You're not going to be in Gen Pop with like the Killers and Crips and Bloods and all that. That's not happening.
Because you're going to get,
Yeah. So and I want to caution people because I know whenever we classify prison levels, some people want to say, oh, well, that's going to be an easier time. He still got to make it, right? So they still have janitors and orderlies or whatever. For the right price in prison, people can still get to you, like if they need to.
Yeah.
But the point of protective custody is for government officials and police officers and things like that who get in trouble to be cordoned off from the general population because of the safety risk, and to have elevated security through corrections officers so that it's a lot harder for people to get to them. It's a lot more isolated from their perspective because sometimes half of the safety in prison is getting to build alliances and relationships with other people. But at the same time, it's either build an alliance and get stabbed or be by yourself and have a lesser risk of getting stabbed. Yeah.
So that means if it's 60 to 80% of the trial. So we're looking about 15 years. You could end up doing 12 to 15 years.
Yeah, quite possibly. And that's assuming his appeal and stuff doesn't go through like Bill Cosby's did, right?
Yeah. Wow. So okay, that's all good to know. I mean, sometimes you think law is just a slam dunk, but it's not. It's not that. It's all these technicalities and all that. But and then and the other topic. I mean, so I hope if you have a question, you could type it and we'll respond to it. The second one is the Olympics, and which made me. I saw it earlier this week, which made me mad. I think. Our previous guest, Sister Marcella, had posted an article where the IOC is banning caps for sisters with afro, so you can have such caps on. And I'm like, are they trying to keep our sisters from participating, competing, and all that? Because I remember last Olympics, a few of our sisters won gold medals.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're trying to say you have to have your hair a certain way. I don't know what your take on it was, but I think IOC needs to be called out on Twitter. So if you're watching us, please go to Twitter, call IOC out.
Yes.
There needs to be an uproar for them to change this foolish rule. I mean, it's foolish in my opinion.
Yes.
I didn't know what you thought about it.
It is definitely foolish. Now, one of the things I want people to realize is the IOC is in charge of making rules really for anybody who's going to compete at the Olympic level. But the makeup of the IOC oftentimes is from representatives from all over. There's a large portion of those representatives who are from the United States, right? So those United States representatives sometimes do not have the community's best interests at heart when it comes to seeing people who look like us progress to be able to be representatives of the country we're from, right? And what I mean by that is everybody knows there are certain sports that you just don't see a lot of Black people in, and the sports that you do see Black people in, we tend to dominate, right? So we always dominate basketball, we dominate track, we dominate everything on that scale. But when you get to the bigger sports, kind of what they call the Ivy League, the white sports, it's swimming, right? The stuff with horses, right? They always have this opinion that the reason they dominate in those sports because they're just better. They're Olympic athletes. And that may be true, but at the same time, we also know that for regular people to be engaged in those sports, it costs a lot of money. And most of us don't have the money to be able to buy a horse and learn how to work and ride a horse. Like, you just don't have it. So if you don't have the money, you don't get in. What has been happening, though, is when you look at Gabby Douglas, when you look at Simone Biles, when you look at Simone Manuel, you've got sisters who come up in this game and who took it to a whole new level, right? People didn't see them coming.
Yeah.
And they've now gotten in here and made such a big uproar and became brands, because Olympics is all about branding. You become a brand, not just for patriotism in your country, but you become a brand that you can like market yourself to advertise things. So when you start winning, what happens is these people who don't want you there, and I'm not saying the whole Olympic committee, but the people who feel that way, who don't want you there, say, you need a rule change, right? Or we need to vigorously enforce the rules that we already have on the books that we may not have been vigorously enforcing before, right? It's gatekeeping. So what they're doing now is by saying that you cannot have swim caps that are designed especially to protect Black hair, so African and African-American hair. They're trying to force you to basically sacrifice your hair if you're going to participate, right?
Yeah.
Which they know we aren't trying to do. Like, we go in here because we're trying to win. Now, keep in mind, the swim cap doesn't have anything to do with performance. Like, it doesn't, alter performance. It's not an opioid or anything like that. It's just a matter of hair protection. Some could argue that this is part of the failure to have representation at the IOC, and that they just need to talk to some Black people so that they know the importance of it. But I just don't believe that they completely don't know the importance of it. I think that they know it'll impact the number of future people coming in. I don't know what that does with Simone Manuel. I don't know if that means she's going to have to change up and try to adapt, or if she's going to do it. I don't know, but she's an Olympic athlete, so I anticipate she's going to be there. I anticipate if she got to get in there with no swim cap, she'll be there.
Simone is in gymnastics, isn't she?
No, that's Simone Biles. So Simone Manuel is the Black girl who was winning gold.
Oh,
medals.
who won the gold last?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So she's coming, and I think when the good thing about it, just like when Gabby Douglas came, she was a phenomenon. We hadn't seen that before. And Gabby Douglas kicked the door open for Simone Biles to come in and take it to a whole new sport. Simone Manuel winning at the last Olympics was huge, because now it's Black girls that want to swim, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this is the other thing I'll say to people. I think I was raised like this. I don't know. I'm assuming that a lot of Black people probably raised like this. But when it comes to the Olympics, the thing that always impresses me is I root for everybody Black. It doesn't matter what your country of origin is. I don't care if you're from Trinidad. I don't care if you're from Ghana, South Africa, United States of America. I don't care. If you are Black, you are getting my support, right? And the thing about it is, when I started watching the Olympics as a child, it was the first time that I saw like Black people from other places in something that's not derogatory, right? So you got people who are the best of the best athlete from their respective countries. And some of these countries don't have a lot of Black people, but we still somehow find a way to be the best, right? Be the best. And I can just imagine the saltiness that some of these people who watch the Olympics have when they see a Simone Biles standing on the stand getting your medal with the flag draped around. I can feel the saltiness that some of those racist people have. Likewise, I can also feel the pride that Black people have. Like, we are beautiful people. Like, just as a world, we are beautiful people. And when I see like outfits from different countries, like I've been in love with the Ivory Coast track uniform. I want to buy me one. If anybody from Ivory Coast has a track uniform you want to send me, I'm kind of big right now, but I'm working on it. So send me that. It is awesome. Like, so I think, we see this and we see encouragement coming from people in other countries. We see, of course, when Jamaica was winning, everybody runs up, celebrates Jamaica winning track. We have that bond that I feel like some of our white counterparts don't necessarily display, at least not to the Black athletes. Yeah. And I think that's special. So I think all of this together, for someone who's sitting on the IOC who may not share these same values and views, it makes it incredibly difficult for them to see. And so they have to implement changes or enforce things to weed folks out. and to say, look, we need something that's ours. Like we need something that we can hold on to. They can't have, Tiger Woods took golf from us, right? we can't lose everything. So I think that's what you're seeing with the swim cap rule. And I also think that's what you're seeing with the enforcement of kind of the marijuana issue against Sha'Carri Richardson.
Oh, then that moves us right into that Sha'Carri Richardson. Not so much as wherever, I don't know, what state is she from again?
Oregon.
Oh, okay. So first of all, so to start off, Oregon is it's legal in Oregon, right? If I'm not
right, weed is
mistaken.
legal in Oregon. Mm-hmm.
So if she's from Oregon, it's legal in Oregon, but then of course it's banned by the IOC.
Mm-hmm.
And the last I checked, marijuana is not a performance enhancing. Not that I'm like, it's not performance enhancing. So she's been banned. And is there a way to appeal it, or I mean, how close?
Well, what we're doing, and the issue is more so a timing issue than anything else, right? So the ban itself is supposed to be a 30-day restriction from participating in events. If that 30-day restriction went in as soon as this was discovered, then that would mean that her main event that we all wanted to see her in, which is her solo run, she would be forbidden from being able to do, but she could still be part of the relay team, right? Because that's like technically 3 days after the ban would be over. What we are trying to do is we are trying to petition the IOC through social media and all these things to reconsider so that she can be part of her individual race. And the basis of that petition comes down to, one, like you said, marijuana is not a performance enhancing drug. If anything, I am more impressed that she was smoking marijuana and still be the fastest people in the world. That means she's really fast. Number two, I feel like we are seeing a lot of changes in America as it relates to enforcement of marijuana. I think people are starting to gather now that it's not the evil drug that it was 20 years ago, or that people thought it was 20 years ago. I think people also realize that there are other countries who have had open marijuana distribution for centuries, like it wasn't a big deal. But most importantly, because America is all about exploitation, America started making a lot of money off of it. Like once they started legalizing it, people were making millions of dollars. And so now that they have
realistic society,
it's a trick, because if you open a dispensary, you're going to make good money, but the government now locally and statewide gets to charge you like exorbitant tax revenue, right? So they're going to tax you at a much higher rate than anybody else. And you don't care because you're making millions of dollars. So I'll pay $200,000, not a problem. Everybody's eating. The problem is that the people who are positioned to be able to open dispensaries here aren't the folks who have been criminalized for having marijuana. So Black people who have been selling marijuana, growing marijuana, doing this forever, got jail sentences all over the place. But now white people just copy what we did, and they can open dispensaries, and it's a business. And it's accepted. So that's one of the internal conflicts we have in America. I think what's important for Ms. Richardson, though, is we're not talking about a law that she broke, right? So we would understand if it's you broke the law, there's a penalty, whatever. We're talking about a rule, which means rules are created by the IOC and enforced by the IOC, but the IOC is not the government, right? The IOC is adjudicating for a privilege, and a privilege, even though it's not a right, it's still something where there's a certain degree of discretion as to what you can apply. So if they wanted her to race, they could, right? I find it hard to believe that she's the first person that ever tested positive for marijuana. We know that Michael Phelps was smoking because it was on Instagram. We know that Ryan Lochte was lying about the Brazil police and getting robbed. But, at the same time, I feel like, they want to have a standard where they say, if you're going to be an Olympic athlete, this is what you have to do. Lastly, I want to tell people, Sister Richardson is 21 years old. And I don't know how 21-year-olds all around the world are, but I do know how 21-year-olds in these United States of America are. And the 21-year-olds in these United States of America are smoking all kinds of stuff that they probably should not be smoking, but they're 21 and they're going to make mistakes early. I hope you all know she did an interview and she acknowledged her mistake, but also that yes, she apologized, but also that she found out that her biological mother passed away in the midst of a freaking television interview, right? The reporter asked her about her mom dying, and she's like, what are you talking about, right? So she's dealing with the weight of Black America because we put pressure on people when you good. Now you got to represent all of us, right? So she got that pressure. She's never been in the public spotlight until she started winning races. Now she's got media attention, right? Then people were hating on her appearance and like, oh, why does she have colored hair? Then they were hating on her sexuality, like, oh, you can't be representing America and you LGBTQ, whatever. So it's always some extra thing. Nisette, what's going on? It's always some extra step that, you know, Black people have to overcome. And so we're, you know, trying our best to ride for Miss Richardson. Like, we trying to see her in the race. I think it would be different based on like the articles and stuff I was getting. If I just knew that they was on my performance enhancing drugs for all the time they took away on my phone and all the space they took up sending me all these news articles. I just knew it was performance enhancing steroids. And when I read the article and I saw weed, I was pissed off and I deleted every single one of those news articles. This is not a performance enhancing drug. This has nothing to do with her ability to run a race. It didn't make her faster. Nothing. This is her coping mechanism, and maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong, but I don't think that this should be something that bans her from being able to participate in the events that she's worked so hard to train for. So there we go.
Yeah. Well, just so they said so people better be glad all she did was weed.
Right, right. Yeah. That's it.
I just wanted to say, people, I mean, don't go out and misquote us or say we're celebrating her because she did something wrong. No, that's not what we're saying here. We're just saying that, you know, of course, I mean, both me and Jesse, I mean, I have my own take on the whole, yeah, I mean, I agree. It's used for medicinal purposes. Fine. I'm not in favor of just recreating with weed. I mean, that's my take on it. But I feel like people have done worse and you know, have gotten away with it. You know, at the same time, she apologized. She acknowledged what she did was wrong, and she lost a parent, for crying out loud. So yeah, let's be sympathetic to her plight. And she's only 21. And but at least the good thing is I didn't even know. I'm just finding out from my co-hosts that she's still gonna take part in at least the relay. So
maybe
I mean,
we have to wait and see what the determination is from the IOC, because it all depends on when the 30 days starts. Like when is the 30 days start? So well, I'm curious, just because I know we got people from all over the world watching. For us, I know marijuana has always been like a weird kind of issue because America, as much as they like to criminalize marijuana, we celebrate it so much. Like, we got Snoop Dogg on every commercial. We got you know, everybody got Nate Dogg's look, smoke weed every day. Like everybody has all of that stuff, and we celebrate, but then criminalize certain people when they get caught with it. And I know, you know, for people who might be watching from Jamaica or wherever, like there are certain places where weed isn't viewed in the same way. So I'm just curious on a global scale, how do respective communities view marijuana across the world?
Okay, so growing up in Ghana, one thing that scared people was if you smoke, you could get schizophrenia, and it's one of the causes of it. People get paranoid and get schizophrenia because they abuse it. They do a lot of it. So it's viewed from at least from back in the growing up in the 80s, like. Mm-hmm. Don't do it because you could get mad and all that stuff, you know?
Okay.
So it was definitely frowned upon, but although, people still did it. I mean, a lot of the well-meaning parents had kids who still did it anyway. but it was criminal. Don't do it. And if you did it, it was illegal in Ghana where I grew up. It was illegal. If you did it, you get in trouble. You know, you do a short time, and no one wants to go to jail in Ghana.
Right.
You know? Yeah. So that's how it was viewed. I mean, now I'm gonna have to speak to. I mean, it's still viewed as wrong, and if you are caught doing it as a politician or whatever, your political career will be over. So that's how it is viewed in Ghana.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. You know, we had a president who allegedly didn't inhale, but we have President Clinton. So, yeah, man, I don't know. And I know George W. Bush talked about it as well. Like, I feel
even
like
Obama to talk about it.
Obama did way worse.
Dreams of my father, yeah.
Yes. But it's just interesting to me because, you know, I think about kind of how we decide as nations, like what we criminalize and what we decriminalize, right? And I thought, you know, growing up, of course, they always told you to, you know, they had the after school specials. Weed is the gateway drug. Don't do it. This is your brain on drugs, cracking eggs in a hot skillet. Don't do it. And so for me, I felt like I was kind of brainwashed into thinking, well, I shouldn't. And on top of that, like, you know, growing up with people who actually were involved in like the commerce behind it, I feel like I never wanted to deal with the consequences of being responsible for somebody else's money or somebody else's products, right? Because I've seen how it works if it's not right. It's bad, doesn't end well. So, for me, I always kind of stood away from it. But I also, you know, just remember like people used to watch the Cheech and Chong movies from the 70s and 80s. And all they do is smoke. People used to watch, you know, Snoop Dogg is like our icon. So Snoop Dogg, he always advertised it. And now he does have a dispensary. Like he has his whole line and he's making even more money off of it. And as much as people wanted to downplay it, it always felt like it was one of those tacit, like, yeah, don't do it. But I mean, do it. Just don't get caught doing it, right? Like that kind of thing. And then as an attorney, what happens is the number one way when I was a criminal defense attorney to get people involved in needing my services was always marijuana, right? It wasn't like people want to believe there's murderers running rampant, there's armed robbers running rampant. Most of the crimes that people were getting arrested for was weed. That was it. And so, you know, even when you talk about political movements like defund the police and stuff like that, folks get nervous because they say if we defund the police, all the murderers will come out, right? But it's like the police weren't going after murderers before. They were going after the kid with weed, right? And now in our county, we have even taken away, so the DA has said they're not going to prosecute for simple possession. And it has significantly reduced the number of arrests and the need for police, right? So I wonder, like, how much of this is done just to, I mean, I don't want to say just to give certain police officers a job, but like how much of this is done just to, you know, kind of facilitate a economic aspect as opposed to, you know, concern about somebody's well-being or concern about their ingestion of a substance.
Yeah, I mean, it's a dicey subject, but I mean, I do also discourage it because when people do it just for, I mean, my only thing is the recreation. They do it for recreation and they can't get a high and they want to get higher and stuff. Then they go to harder stuff, and that's when, you know, they become addicts and do all kinds of, they go into meth and heroin and all the hard stuff that eventually sometimes kills them. So that's when it gets problematic. But if it's using it for, you have people. I remember I met a lady who used it for, because she had a tumor, so she used it to cope with a tumor and for medicinal purposes, for all that. But if it's just so that you could get, you know, feel a certain way, then totally against it, of course. And also I'm a preacher, so I don't encourage.
Absolutely.
I don't encourage people to do it. Yeah, of course. If you turn a new leaf, then you know, God's grace is always waiting for you to turn around. But at any rate, and then the last thing I wanted us to talk about was, before I go on, Michael, is Michael on? I see a few people on. He's usually on. I wanted his take on the whole thing, since Jesse is curious about the world's view on.
Yes, you said too. I'd be curious if you know like how Panama views it.
Okay, Tamara Robinson. I've been smoking for decades. I've never wanted to do anything else. So many strains that give you the different high. Oh, okay.
Okay. So she's saying that she's not it's not the gateway drug thing that people think it is. I've heard that from folks who say it's just I like, what I like. It makes me feel a certain way. And I think she's from a state that has legal Tamara has well, I don't want to say your state if it haven't. Hasn't been legalized in the area that you're in.
Yeah. Tamara, thanks for joining us.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. She said it helps her sleep. Okay. We're not gonna.
Okay. She said Illinois is legal. Yes.
Illinois. Okay.
Yeah. I won't go call you out and have the people coming up checking you.
Oh wow. Any more questions, comments?
See, Michael. And then for those of you viewing, I'm also curious, like with the Olympics coming up, what events are you all looking forward to, and who are you going to be cheering for? I think I know the answer, but I'm trying to see what that's going to be cheering.
My favorite, of course, is the track and field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, track and field is there's always a big rivalry, Jamaica and the U.S.
Yes.
I remember in the past Olympics, it was always between Usain and Justin Gatlin. Before it was Tyson Gay and Usain, and then moved to Gatlin, and then the U.S. relay team, and then the Jamaican relay team. Jamaican had a upper hand for a while, and until the last Olympics when Usain got hurt, so.
I love the Jamaican track team. Like, there's something about like being undeniably black that I just love. Like, they were the first ones who had like the colors like sewn into their hair, and then Usain Bolt when he would get the fire extinguisher and blow it onto his shoe. Like, I love it. I love it. He said, honestly, I'm not unfamiliar. Oh, I'm not unfamiliar with how it's viewed. Okay. So she's not necessarily sure. All track. I was a shot putter. Who is the sister who is doing shot put? I seen her. She has these like weird masks, like the Joker's face. What is that lady's name?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a black lady. She has like green hair, and she looks like she's gonna be a monster at shot put. I can't wait to see her win something.
Oh, wow.
I'm not good with names yet because I haven't seen the lineup yet. I guess they're still trying to finalize through all the different Olympic trials. I'm looking forward to, and I know like it might sound weird, but I just absolutely love seeing Simone Biles. I think I didn't care about gymnastics until really Gabby Douglas, but Simone Biles is like a new level. I feel like the Black Widow movie that they're getting ready to drop next week, it needs to be replaced by Simone Biles. Like Simone Biles needs to be the new Scarlett Johansson. She is doing flips and kicks. I'm sure some ninja sitting somewhere in Asia is like, no, we need to recruit her. She's awesome. So I'm looking forward to seeing her. I'm cheering for everybody black. Y'all already know that. I'm looking forward to seeing what last name Carter. Yep, is it Michelle Carter? I think Tamir's right. Last name Carter. I think so. I want to see her.
Yeah.
I'm always looking forward to track, basketball. I'm always looking forward to like Simone Biles in gymnastics. Won't watch anybody else, just Simone Biles. And I like some of those sports that are kind of off the beaten path, like fencing,
Well,
right?
Michelle Carter is his name.
Michelle Carter. Okay. Oh, there's Michael right there.
Oh, okay. So Michael says, I'm on, sir. Marijuana, Indian hemp remains illegal in Nigeria, even though it's widely abused by politicians, including lawmakers, police, and other law enforcement agents. For medicinal purposes, marijuana is used in some parts of Nigeria as an herb. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Mike.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks for joining us as always. Yeah. Yeah, so the lady's name is Michelle Carter. Yeah, I think I saw, as you said, I looked at a picture. I Googled her just to make sure.
Yes.
And I remember,
She's a beast.
I also got excited about Taekwondo. I usually don't watch it, but there was an Ivorian brother who won. You remember when I sent you a message? The brother from Ivory Coast won a gold medal because he beat another brother from the UK for the gold medal in Taekwondo.
That's awesome, man. I love to see black people kicking stuff for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then a lady from Ivory Coast also, I forget her name. Michael, do you remember? There's a lady from Ivory Coast who does track and field, and she usually comes in second because what's a lady from? Why am I drawing blanks? Shelly.
It's been 4 years.
Shelly Ann Fraser.
Yeah.
From
Fraser
Jamaica.
Price.
Yeah, and then the lady from Ivory Coast. So I was curious how Miss Richardson would have fared in between the top three, whether she would have pulled up an upset of Shelly Ann Fraser or come in second or third. That would be cool.
Let's see.
Then Williamson.
Will Dudley, what's going on, man?
How you doing, Will? I'm looking forward to the open ceremony. All shades of the diaspora all over the world.
That's right.
Then sis, I want to see tennis as well. Of course, we have the legend Serena, and then did she pull out or is she?
I'm not sure. I know she had gotten injured. Was it last week? But I'm not sure if she pulled out.
Okay, so we have the legend, and then we have, of course, that brings us to a last issue. Why am I forgetting what his name?
Osaka.
Naomi Osaka, and so Naomi, and then there's another sister. Okay, but anyway,
Coco,
yeah. So we have a solid team, but Naomi a few weeks ago pulled out of one. She didn't want to participate in an interview because of stuff that she's been going through. She was struggling with depression and her mental health, so she just wanted to stay away from the media.
Right.
So that's why she didn't have the interview. She apologized for it. She acknowledged it, and explained the whole thing on Twitter. So I was, my heart goes out to her, and I'm really proud of her for, being. I mean, this is I remember we had my sister on, Dr. Kamala Nontra, who talked about mental health and the stigma of mental health in the Black community, and it's something that people are scared to talk about it or.
Absolutely.
Shy away from it. But she came out and said why she did not want to take part in the will bidding, but she struggled with that and she wanted some time off. And I'm really proud of her. And I was just disappointed with how she was treated and made a scapegoat of, and and fined, I think 30,000, something like that.
Yeah, but I think also these reporters get out of pocket, man. Like some of these people are kids, you know what I'm saying? They get real out of pocket with some of the questions that they ask. And I think I love what Naomi did because ordinarily you're expected to deal with it. People be like, well, you're a high caliber athlete, so you need to develop.
You're making millions, so you should deal with it. I mean, it's not that easy.
You need to do it. And she was like, no, I'll cut a check. I'll pay the fine. I'm good. I'm not worried. And I think the media was not prepared for a black woman to be like, I don't need this. I don't need Wilmington. So enjoy. So I really want these reporters to understand, particularly when you're talking to people who are children, like we got to get some stuff together. Serena's dad used to be real big on that. Like when they would ask questions to try to destroy her confidence and all that stuff, and he would come in and be like, you know what, this interview done. Like we're gonna have to go outside and give me 5 minutes. Right.
Yeah, I mean, my wife, G, I don't know if she's watching. She's a fan of those who tell it to the media, stick it to the media. She was a fan of Marshawn Lynch. I know, you remember Marshawn Lynch from Seattle and Oakland Raiders, because he'll just go and say thank you for asking. He just go and get your hand.
I'm just here. So I don't
get fined, because sometimes the media definitely gets, especially when there's some controversy on something, and they exploit it, especially against our people. So she was, she was pretty upset with what happened with Naomi and how she was treated and all that. So yeah, kudos to our sister Naomi. Michael has an update. So he says, there's a bill before the National Assembly of Nigeria seeking to legalize marijuana for medicinal purposes. But Africa is largely conservative, and it will be unimaginable and even condemnable for such a bill to see the light of day. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes. And then, yes, Mr. Williams doesn't play.
Yeah. Serena Venus dad from Compton. He going to let you know real quick when you start asking too many questions about his daughters. But I think that's, whenever we see strong fathers, particularly in sports figures, like, I even look at LeVar Ball sometimes. I'm like, yeah, he looks crazy sometimes, but at the same time, like all his kids are living their dream. I think sometimes you have to be like that because the media wants to destroy. I think they want to destroy all athletes, but they definitely want to destroy the black ones for sure. And if you happen to be young and be great, everybody's not going to be LeBron James, right? Like LeBron James, I feel like was so groomed by the time he came out of high school that it doesn't matter what question you throw at him, he's going to ace it. But at the same time, LeBron James is like 1 in a million. Right? It's 1 in a million. And people have bad days, especially when you lose a game.
Exactly. Like, no one is.
Yeah, absolutely. So
that's why I'm not a fan of this guy Stephen A. Sometimes Stephen A. Stephen A. I was breaking. I think yeah, because it's a little hard on the brother sometimes when they don't come for an interview because he's part of the media. So it's like, the media celebrates you and lift you up. So if you come and just answer the questions, and I think he's a little too harsh sometimes. And I'm not a fan of Onk.
Oh yeah, Shay Sharp. Yeah,
Shay Sharp.
Yeah. Stephen A. So he's the one I worry about the most because as soon as Sha'Carri Richardson's situation broke, even though I got my articles from Washington Post and New York Times, the voice I heard in my head was Stephen A. Smith because he always like, stay off the weed. Like I knew that's what he was gonna do, and I'm like, man, people don't need this kind of pressure, screaming at them all the time. Sometimes it's warranted. I'll give him that, but I do think he has a tendency to get like too close to home on some people. I like Shannon Sharp. I feel like Shannon Sharp is fair, but if he likes you, he really rides for you. So he loves LeBron. You know what I'm saying? It's like even if LeBron has a bad game, he's not gonna look at it as an analyst. He's gonna be like, "When you to go, you can take a day off."
Exactly. Yeah, he's always he loves hard. Once he's your friend, but then of course, when you do something wrong, he'll be the first to chastise you. And he's one person that stood by Colin Kaepernick's side, and apparently he had his personal number, and they were in touch and all that. And then also commends Kip. I mean, as much as I disagree, Skip can be crazy, but I commend him because he's almost like the boss on the show. He approves of the subjects and all that, and so he talks about these issues and he brings them to light. Like, okay, Shannon, I'm going to sit back and let you, go for it. And he doesn't try to be that, that guy who's like, oh, you make millions, so you should know better. No, he's not like that. And that's why I want to watch Fox, the Fox show, than watch ESPN.
Yeah, and isn't that crazy? Like, so Fox's sports branch has a lot more openness to talk about racial issues.
I know, right?
ESPN is like, no, we're only talking stats. I don't want to hear anything about personal stuff or Black Lives Matter. This is about basketball lives matter. Yeah, and I think you have to bring a personality like Shannon Sharpe on your show. Took a lot. Like I can see Skip Bayless having meetings with the execs, and they saying like, "Nah, we're not doing it." Shannon Sharpe has always been kind of out there. I didn't realize how brilliant he was, but he's always been very opinionated. And Shannon Sharpe is one of those people like you can't really beat up, and he got his own money, so you got to just deal with it. You know what I'm saying? You got to just deal with it because ain't nobody gonna be like, Shannon, I'm mad. Let's go get 5 minutes outside. Shannon will be like, okay. And then come back and be like, I had to serve up one of them hot L's. You know what I'm
saying? So, well, it's been a fun show. Any more questions, comments? Well, if you haven't done so already, please like us on Facebook, subscribe to our channel on YouTube. This is a PanAfricana presents Afriscope on YouTube, and we on Instagram at the PanAfricana Show, and we also on what is the last one I'm forgetting? On Facebook, of course.
Yeah, Facebook is PanAfricana presented by Afriscope. So definitely follow us. Also, the past couple of weeks we've been having a little lull of people who haven't been sending over guests. If you're interested in being a guest, or you have, even if you're from a country that we haven't covered yet, we want to hear your voice. We want you to be part of the fabric of our family. We view all of our guests as family members. So make sure that you reach out to us. Let us know where you're from, who you are, and we can try to connect you, get you in here, talk to you, find out what's going on in your part of the world, and just kind of build greater awareness, because the whole point of our show is to build bridges between the gaps on the diaspora so we can all get connected and hopefully sometime in the future be able to present our own stuff and do our own large scale international projects and not necessarily need any kind of interference from anybody else, who's not part of our diaspora. So definitely reach out to us. Don't be scared. If you have any questions, reach out to us. Don't be scared. Follow us on Instagram and, make sure that you tune in, tell your friends about us, share us. And we would love to have you on, and we love to be in your most viewed playlist. Yes.
Oh, okay. Michael has another comment. He says, that reminds me, at the university level, I lived in a neighborhood where marijuana was used as a vegetable for cooking, such as jollof rice, etc. And that was when I had a taste of it. I can tell you that it wasn't a good experience.
Yes, I've heard people do all kinds. Well, I not even heard. Like I know people do all sorts of stuff with marijuana now. But I mean, there's a whole market for that. So like people have like chocolates and edibles. People have salads. Gummies. Like they do everything with it. So it's a multi-million-dollar industry here in the states where it's legal. In the states where it's not legal, it's still making money, but it's just under the table illegal money. So I'm when I knew things were going to change is when I think about a month ago, the North Carolina General Assembly, which is probably the most conservative General Assembly in the nation, is actually considering legalizing marijuana, at least for medicinal purposes.
Oh, okay.
That is like, that's groundbreaking. That means that they've seen these other states making a lot of money and they feel left out, right? And we got plenty of farmland. So,
but then it will shock people that even some of the medicines they take for pain and all that, it has a little bit of that in there. So it's already, people are already taking it without even knowing. Yeah, thank you, Nisad, as always.
yes.
Thanks for joining us. Yeah, it was a great convo. As always, and we're expecting you back on.
Yes.
Is it because we had a lot of people saw your video and were interested, and it's actually almost at 3,000. No, it's at 2,500 views now, and it's heading towards 3,000 views.
Yes, and I'm still waiting on the Panama Tourism Commission to get back with me. So if you're watching and you're from the Panama Tourism Division, hit my line because we need to get this said to be the billboard for your community. We need to get her compensated for it.
Exactly. Yes, she needs to get a compensation and probably get hired by the Panama Tourism Commission. I don't know why you guys haven't responded to Jesse. Jesse called you all out and you did not respond to him. Don't let us come to Panama and come see you when we come on vacation because you're not gonna like it. Yeah. Okay. She says if you don't want to be high, CBD is a good option. Oh, okay.
Yep. A lot of those shops opening up too.
And then so really that many? I didn't realize. Yep. Yes, that many. He said, yes, it's your magic. Well, thanks for joining us. We're gonna go off. Well, next week we're not gonna be on, so we'll see you in 2 weeks. And like Jesse said, if you want to be on the show, you know somebody who can be a guest, please reach out to us and we'll be sure to bring you on. We want to talk everything. And if you're some part of Asia, I don't think we've covered Asia. If you're some part of Asia and you look like us, definitely come on and we'll have a nice conversation. Okay.
We definitely need more Asian representation because we had Desire in the Philippines. Shout out to Desire. We had him from the Philippines.
Oh yeah, we did have Desire. Yeah, that's true.
But we still need, Japan. I know it's some of y'all in Japan. I know it's some of y'all in China. I know y'all there. Don't be scared. Come on out. We'll work with the time difference.
I say y'all are too sweet. Laugh a lot. I would love to come back anytime, fellas. Sure. But you're a busy woman, so that's why we wanted to make sure. Yes, have a great day, Tamara. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for chiming in with the conversation. As always, have a good day. Have a blessed day, everyone. And we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yes, and Will hit me up because we got to get this Ghana trip set up. Hit me up. Make sure we're good.
Yeah, Will. Yeah, you should have a meeting with Will and see how best, and have a meeting with your friend Azu too. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.